That's right. It is Renegades, the podcast. We are back, and we are back with Cinema Punx. Or it is Cinema Punx with Renegades, the podcast. With Renegades, the podcast. Yes. It is a joint venture. Our powers combined. Yay.
Yes. I know. We have all the rings.
All of them. Kiss the rings. Oh, it's so awesome. So, yeah, if you guys don't know, Cait and Maxx also host the wonderful podcast Outworld Sounds, which until recently was on Twitch, but you guys have moved everything to YouTube now, correct?
Yes, starting in November.
Awesome. Which will probably be when this airs. I might get it out by late-ish October, but we will see. That's going to be a slog, so it'll probably most likely be, you'll probably be hearing this, November. But
in the future.
I will do my best. But, this is awesome to be collaborating with you guys, doing this movie review of The Crow. So glad we could make it happen, at least around the spooky season.
Yes.
Best time of the year, man. And you guys picked
for us, it is mere days away from Halloween. So
that's right.
So you got that good electricity in the air, that good spooky time feeling, the chilly night.
The leaves are finally
Exactly.
the wind.
It rained a lot today.
Exactly.
I know.
It was very
very appropriate. Yeah.
It was
very
cool and very rainy this morning after we watched the film again last night.
Oh, that's perfect.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So I guess we should kind of get into it and talk about kind of our overall. First of all, I'll start off because I'm going into this. I am the Crow virgin. The first time I saw it was last night.
Oh,
stop it.
I had not seen the
movie.
movie.
Were like, they better not say that they've never seen it.
That's
because
mind-blowing.
I am not going to believe it.
I knew of it. I knew the cultural impact, and I knew obviously the aesthetic of the Crow character, and I knew obviously
some of the plot line, some of the story.
I didn't think I knew the story. I was guessing. I was I think
he guessed the whole story, and he was right about
exactly. I was talking to the car. I don't really know much about this movie. I think it's about a guy who dies and comes back to life and gets revenge on the people who either killed him or killed his family. And I was dead on. I was well,
you nailed it.
I have no idea who I would be without the Crow movie. It is. Yes. I can't. I don't know how he ever didn't already see all of the Crow movie before this.
But again, I was aware of kind of the cultural impact and the image, and I've been a pro wrestler. I was a pro wrestling fan, decades ago. And
I thought you were about to say you were a pro wrestler, and I was like.
And I knew of the character Sting, his look was very influenced by Crow and all that. So
Wow. See, that's bringing me back, man. Seeing how much this movie has influenced everything.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it did. I'm right there with you, Julia. I don't know who I'd be without this movie. And it's funny, I can understand you not seeing it because I'm one of those people when it comes to music where if everybody has seen it and it's such oh, you have to go and see this, you have to hear this band, I'll avoid it for a while and I'll let the dust settle and then I'll find it organically. So I can understand that. For me, and we were just talking about this today, for us, we were growing up right when this came out, and it was such the perfect time. If you were a kid that grew up watching the Munsters, the Addams Family, anything dark and gothic, and if you were a musician even, and you liked that industrial feel, this was everything that you loved about it. Plus, it's written by it's based off a comic book, written by one of the best writers and artists there is. So for me, it was yo, I have to see this. And then you see it, and you feel all the emotions through it. Then you hear that soundtrack. It had me, at hello.
Yes. Yeah, I think most of my sexuality comes from The Crow. Between Bai Ling and Brandon Lee, you're just you know what? I am here for all of this. But that's where a lot of my obsession as a kid came from. But as an adult, watching it throughout the years more and more and more, it's just become just so ingrained in everything that I love. I was just telling him before this, this and the first Matrix, I'm I don't know which one's my favorite movie of all time. It changes depending on my mood, but this movie is always just right up there for me. It's God tier, just everything I want.
Yeah, and for me, I was realizing when I was watching the movie how profoundly it influenced my aesthetic in life and my taste in music. And, I was like a DJ on college radio station for 6 years. And I had the like underground goth electronic industrial show called the Energy Eclectic. And I played, cool. I played like the Crow soundtrack and so many things that, fit it. And then I had not really realized consciously that like my other band that I founded in 2008 is called Phoenix Noir. And on our side of the podcast, no more.
Oh, he's no more.
No more. No more. The Raven said, no more. We need a table back there so we can have cool props, but we don't. We just have like a rolling couch top. Yeah. So that's our little skeleton head. He's our skull, and then our crow.
You need the props.
But anyway, so I founded this band in 2008 called Phoenix Noir, and I think on our Spotify podcast of this show, we'll cut to, at some point, to one of the tracks from my earlier band. And we were playing and writing music and performing right up to the pandemic. So we'll see what comes after. But I had 2 full sets of bandmates, and I always knew that might be a possibility. So with Phoenix Noir, I always had this vision of it flowing depending on who made the music with me. But I really recruited people that had a heavy like metal and rock and industrial background. All but one of all of the bandmates from both incarnations of the band were that way. And it was always about being very like heavy and dark. And the Phoenix Noir sort of concept is before there was a band that's starting to get more well-known as Phoenix. Like, I predate them, P.S. And I realized, like, the Crow soundtrack basically epitomizes what the band was shooting for in terms of tone. It was very heavy. It was very sensual. It was very serious at times. It could be light and sexy and playful, but a lot of times it was, like, dark and heavy and serious. And it, I couldn't play in small venues because I was like, this is not a small venue band. Not at all. Like Holly's, like where all of us played is too small. I wouldn't have played that venue with Phoenix Noir. We were usually a 5-piece and no electronic elements other than my keyboards plugged in, of course. But other than things being plugged into amplifiers, it's not an electronic project. It's definitely we would call it the sonic equivalent of black glitter.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. Yeah, so I was sort of dark wave rock, and sometimes I would call it trip rock, because trip hop was a big influence on me, but it was definitely the rock aspect too. Nice. But listening to the Crow soundtrack is like, this was it. I didn't even realize it. We would do a cover of Dead Souls, and we were kind of mutually inspired by the Joy Division original and the Trent Reznor 9 Inch Nails version on Crow soundtrack. Yeah. We would listen to like multiple versions of it and then kind of come into like how we wanted to do it. But it was like so fun in our set. Like we loved doing that. And we would do like dark Cure covers. We didn't end up doing Burn Live, although we worked on it. But we did some of the other Cure songs. Like we basically never played a show without a Cure song and a Portishead song. Like those were the 2 covers we would rotate what songs we did by those bands. But those kind of like, and it was like, wow, this totally was my aesthetic.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like you don't realize till later in life like how much that movie as like a cultural icon like penetrated like everything that you do. Like and honestly, like, I mean, it might sound corny, but like my whole like concept of love and like how deep it can be came from that movie. Like, like rom-coms and all that. It's like, yeah, that's cute, whatever. But like the true like richness and like of grief and like what do you do with grief? And this was before like I had no concept of what James O'Barr was going through or where his inspiration came from, but you feel it so much in that story it's like, it's brutal and it's sexy and it's dark, but it's also like incredibly sad and heavy.
Yes. And there's a lot of resolution in it too. As heavy as it is cathartic. Like
right.
As you go
it's through healing. It's like he's on this journey that has a lot of violence and retribution in it, but ultimately it's healing. It's healing for him. Amen. It's healing for Sarah, the little girl they're caring for. It's healing for the cop who's been demoted for being too inquisitive about the darkness that's going on in their town. I mean, all 3 of those characters are redeemed.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, like he touched different lives in different ways. It wasn't always just in that brutal way or revenge.
I view it as like, a lot of the times, in my personal life when things are going on, it's a lot easier to run and not face the darkness. Because like when you face the darkness, then you actually have to go through it. And when you go through it, you learn, you grow, and you move past it. So it's like, the fear of letting go of it and the fear of the unknown, but that was like the number one thing that I saw through this. And, I lost my dad 10 years ago. He died in my arms. And like, that was a very, very tragic, big hit. He was my best friend, and going through and watching things like this and reading the comic and stuff like that, it does, knowing, where he was and the heart and the emotion that he was putting into the story, it gave me a whole nother way of watching this and a whole nother thing to get out of it. It was really, really cool. And it's cool how that can happen through multiple times in your life. They can touch you on different levels, and bring you different things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, now we take it for granted that every great graphic novel is going to be turned into a series or a movie. Yeah. But really, if we think about when this was released in the early mid-90s, this was starting to create that expectation, because it was an amazing graphic novel with a cult following, and then it became an amazing movie. And I think a lot of people went, whoa. I think it really changed and solidified that trend in cinema history. If it's not coming from The Crow, it was certainly The Crow showing people what was possible, because now, we've been waiting ever since then for The Sandman, and finally we have The Sandman. It took all this time. It took 25 years. But
yeah, so good. But, the Sin City and, all of these things that started coming that were the dark, pretty,
300 even.
Dude, I would even say Blade. I would even say Blade.
And The Watchmen.
The way for something
The Watchmen. The Watchmen was what I was thinking next to. But yeah, Blade. And there's so many now. So now graphic novelists can know, comic writers, graphic novelists, they know there's such a really good chance of hitting the culture in multiple times with both the book release, and then later there's the possibility of a movie release. But I don't think that seemed possible or was on anybody's minds as much before The Crow. I really became more aware of how cool graphic novels had gotten myself when I saw The Crow. I was like, wait, what? I'm going to have to go find this James O'Barr and figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Let me see what this is all about.
We got
yeah. And I think, Max, you were saying you guys watched the background of the story of what happened.
Yeah. So,
maybe tell people, in case our viewers don't all know the backstory that inspired this.
I actually think Kate knows a little bit more about James O'Barr here.
Oh, okay. So, James, the writer, James O'Barr, who wrote The Crow, he was about 20, 21 years old, and fell in love with a girl, and they were together. I think maybe it's tragic how short they were together, maybe 2 or 3 years. And, she was the one. They were engaged. Pretty sure she was also pregnant with their child, and she got killed in a drunk driving accident. And it just completely destroyed him. So as someone in the documentary put it so beautifully, in order to keep both of his feet on this earth, he had to write this, or else he would not have made it. So this was his catharsis. So he put himself into Eric Draven.
Into every page, every emotion that the guy is feeling, all of that loss. And then we were talking about all that resolution and that new knowledge that you gain from it. It's like any grief, there's all those different stages of grief. And this is a tome of his stages. And even the movie is an enactment of stages of grief,
Yeah, because I feel one thing that and I have no qualms with the movie whatsoever. And I saw it before reading the comic, but there's some things in the comic that it touches on that the movie doesn't quite. And it's he's saying, those stages of grief. And there's parts in the comic where it really, even if you haven't experienced this level of grief, you feel it so much, because Eric will be deep diving into memories of her and thinking more and more and more about her, and the Crow is literally stop, you're not helping yourself, you need to pull yourself back, because he would just be going deeper and deeper into the abyss, and he needed that friend to pull him back. He needed that anchor. So I almost feel the Crow literally was, something that helped save James's life and helped keep him out of the grief. That was his subconscious, like, stop torturing yourself, just get this out, do what you got to do and come back. And like it's incredible. If you have not, anyone listening, watching, if you have not read this comic, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Even if you're not a huge comic
if you're
fan,
a fan of the movie,
it's like, beautiful.
It's beautifully written. Every piece of art is absolutely gorgeous. There's no excuse not to.
Seattle. No. We'll let you borrow it.
Yeah, and like it wasn't like intentional that I hadn't seen this movie yet. Like, it was just one of those things just hadn't, it was just hadn't come
Never
across
happened.
my radar enough to like have, to sit down and actually watch it yet. I guess it was part of it was, I guess it's before my time. It came out in '94. I would have been in 4th grade at the time. So like it was, I was a little too early and I was a sheltered kid. And so like, yeah, I didn't really get into the edgy stuff till like 99, like The Matrix.
Okay.
I saw that around the time that came out. So like,
You're like, oh, leather's cool.
Exactly. I gotta say, as soon as he comes on those epic, leather pants with the buttons, I'm like, I looked over at my wife. I'm like, yeah, I see why you liked it. Yes.
See,
those are some epic leather pants for sure.
Bowie and Eric Draven were two of the biggest sexual awakenings of like our generation.
Yes.
Let's be real here.
Yes.
Things they did for pants.
Right.
So after seeing it, what are some of the things that really stuck out the most to you? What are like some of the scenes? Or
I want to hear from like
what really stuck out.
I guess
a newbie.
Like it's funny because like it is. It's very tinged. I guess a lot of people say it's like the goth aesthetic or whatever, but it definitely it's like the perfect like. It's I guess merriment of like the goth and like the grunge. It's like goth grunge hybrid going on with the aesthetic and soundtrack and everything.
Yeah.
And like it kind of feels almost like this is very appropriate for us and making music and with synths and the synth and the retro futurism aesthetic that's really happening right now. It feels very retro futuristic. Like I don't know, like. Is it supposed to be LA? Because like, if it is supposed to be LA,
I think
LA
it's based on the Chicago or Detroit.
It's Detroit.
Oh, okay.
Detroit. Oh, okay. All right.
I thought it was Detroit or Chicago.
Yeah,
one of the
it's
two.
Gotcha.
Detroit.
Yeah.
That makes a little more sense. Yeah.
But if you want to see one in LA, The Crow City of Angels, which is
Aha.
the second one.
You go.
You remember Sarah, little girl Sarah?
Yeah.
The second movie is little girl Sarah grown up, teaching a new spirit how to go about the day.
Because of her experience
it's
with
a
Eric.
fantastic movie. James O'Barr was gonna write the script to it, but after everything that happened with this one, it was way too much for him. But he gave them the outline for it, so that's why those two movies, the first one and the second one, they go together. And that to me is the Crow sequels.
Like
so, if you haven't seen that one, I know that you will love the music because the music takes this to another level.
And the host from the
Super
Iron Chef
industrial.
is the Crow.
Oh my god! Yes,
No joke.
Yeah, dude from Iron Chef is the Crow. Honey James Diaz or whatever.
Yep.
Oh, and Iggy Pop is in it. Iggy Pop plays the one boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
I appreciate a good Iggy
pretty
Pop
wild.
cameo.
Yeah. So
It's pretty wild.
next time you have to check that one out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're
for
definitely
sure.
watching. I already told him, I'm like, hey, we're watching the second one, just so you know.
All right.
Nice. That's
what
perfect.
happens.
But yeah, it's funny because you were talking about how it predates a lot of things. Like again, it didn't register to me just watching it now with everything. But like, yeah, totally. Like when this came out, it predates a lot of the not only like certain like underground and really kind of like more edgy comic adaptations happening, but it kind of predates some of the more underground aesthetics and the goth aesthetic and all of that.
100%.
And like what I was surprised by watching it that I didn't expect is I did not expect it to be such a hardcore, like not super violent enough, like revenge.
Violent.
I was not
It is
expecting
pretty
this
violent.
revenge movie. Like
Yeah, but that's
Lots
one of the
of
things
action.
that's so cool about it, because like going back to like our conversation like before we started, like we're like because we were like, all right, what are our top like movie genres, what are our favorites? And I'm like, well, like fantasy, and action and like horror / supernatural. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I think this is all of them.
It's all
it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about it.
It's a horror movie for T-Boy and all his friends, T-Bird and all his friends.
But
It's
even
a
the
horror
stuff
movie.
the stuff that they do, I mean, they can be considered horror characters because there's even scenes like in the behind the scenes stuff that we were watching, there's whole scenes of them killing lots of other people that they just didn't put in the movie.
Oh, gotcha. Wow.
I mean, these guys were brutal. They were serial killers. Like they were
torturing people all
the worst of the
town.
worst.
It was wild, man.
Yeah, like
it was wild.
Kidnapping people and blowing buildings up.
Yeah, they started off with that. You know, we see everything that happened with Shelley, but when we first see the gang again, they're already torturing and blowing up another building as Eric's coming back.
Yeah, they're just like breaking like pinball machines.
It's been a year, but nothing has changed. It's just gotten worse.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, damn.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, you know, he doesn't realize in his quest for revenge that there's going to be a power behind them, that there's a much bigger conspiracy afoot. That you know, makes me think of some things like Gotham now, you know, where you have this huge dark conspiracy in Gotham of like why all of the horror and crime is happening, and there's a crime boss behind it. Now Batman taught us that we know to look for it, you know, but like Eric Draven doesn't think to look for it. It finds him. He tries to make his peace and just go to the grave and be done after he gets rid of the murderers. But it's like it's not done because he's set things in motion to where now Sarah's in danger. So he gets called back into the big face off with, you know, the supervillain dude, his hot Asian partner, and his big bodyguard guy.
You mean his sister?
Yes.
His lover, his sister lover.
His occult lover, who's the only one who understands what's really happening in the film. Like, she's the one with the insight, and she's like, it's not just, he's not just back, there's a power.
Yep.
We can feel the power. Like, she sees the big picture. She only has a few lines in the film, but she tells you actually what's going on. Like, she's the only person, like, even Eric Draven doesn't know what's going on, he's just in it. Yeah. But it's like, that partner, supervillain partner lady, she got it.
That's crazy.
You always got to listen to the ones that you think are crazy, man, because they usually are telling you just what you need to hear.
Yeah, because it's so funny. And like, I remember one specific scene where all the you know, crime lords are together, and her and her brother are sitting at the head of the table, and she says something and everyone just laughs at her, and she kind of like puts her head down like, oh yeah,
then Eric comes in and kills the whole freaking table.
But like just the fact that like everyone just laughed at her, and she's just like, okay. But it's like she said she knew what was going on, and all these dudes are like, yeah, okay, whatever she says, you know, no one's taking her seriously, and
they're all dead. She lives longer.
She lives longer.
Yeah. She lives long enough to attempt to steal the crow so that she steals the power.
Almost. Can I tell you though, like that scene at the end where she's trying to grab the crow, still to this day gives me so much anxiety. I'm like, leave him alone. Leave him alone.
You cannot take the crow. Do not take the crow.
Anything with animals just gets me so anxious. I'm like, kill the guys. Leave the bird alone. Oh my God, I hate her.
And then the crow takes her out. The crow pecks her eyes out and causes her to lose her balance and plummet down the well of the stairwell in the cathedral. So I mean, the crow gets her like the bird.
Okay, so that makes me think of an awesome round table for us real quick. What's your favorite kill from the crow?
Oh,
easily Fun Boys.
Okay.
The needles.
Kill him with his own poison, man. He's out there poisoning a poor mother, you know, taking her away from her daughter.
He got what he deserved.
Give him a taste of his own medicine.
He did.
Plus, that was just so brutal when they saw the freaking crow in his face.
Oh my God, yeah.
God, dude, it was so brutal.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna say the same. I'm just gonna parrot off of you. Fun Boys, and I love the part where he's like, "You're wasting it." Like, it just always cracks me up because I'm like, "You're about to die, bro. No one cares."
I don't know if it's my favorite. It's the only one that's sticking out in my head right now, having only seen the movie the one time now. Oh, and I don't even think it counts because I don't think he died. But homeboy with the mustache with the explosion when his like legs are on fire.
Oh, Gideon. He's all burnt up. He can't even put a hat on. He's
Yeah, he cracked up because he's like running to get out of his store and it blows him across the alley and hits the brick wall. And he's like, ah!
Yeah, and he's just
crazy. He was just laughing his ass off. And then he gets up and he's like, oh, his leg's on fire. Yeah, the supervillain dude, he takes him out. He takes out Poncho Boner.
It's not favorite, but the other one that stuck out is the first Eric Draven kill in the movie is black dude with a dreads, and I'm like,
what's his name?
Tintin.
The black guy's the first.
Tintin.
I'm like, really? You gonna kill the black guy first? You
damn! He hit the trope.
I just looked at him and said, "I'm still the '90s. I think people might know better now. Like, please don't be so stereotypical. This is not cool." But yeah,
I mean, granted,
I like the symmetry because he put all of Tintin's knives back in his chest. Then he puts all the needles back in Funboy's chest.
Oh, and he's
then the bomb expert is T-Bone, and he fuses him to his car with a bomb.
It sends him off, and then sets.
So he killed them each in the way that they harmed others. He turned it back on them.
Wow.
So that's really what my favorite is, the fact that he used the symmetry of that. It's like, that's clean.
Yeah. That is badass.
It's
but
just desserts.
One thing that always cracks me up, and I'm totally this person when I watch movies, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. But the only thing in this movie that never made sense to me was like, they're like, yeah, he put all his knives and his major organs in alphabetical order. And I'm like, how the fuck would they know that?
How would they know that?
It's a cool line, but how do they know that?
The trouble in an autopsy to actually time the death of each organ.
Okay, it's like, this is 1 millisecond and another millisecond.
That lung went down before that I don't know, that
the dude probably
intestine. That's alphabetical.
The dude probably didn't pass grade school, so when he's going alphabetical, he's probably like abdomen. Liver.
It's like operation.
Well, this was in the 90s, the time of the one-liners for like
you just had to have cool lines.
So maybe the coroner just had a one-liner.
Yeah,
man, guy stabbed him in alphabetical order in every artery. Crazy.
Yeah, you're like, these organs start with letters. Oh my god, no, that's the only thing that ever like pops out to me. Every time it's said, I'm like,
no, I know, I'm with you. I'm like, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't care enough to even find out, even if we could get the exact moment by moment organ death roster. I just don't think they would have gone to that trouble for a serial killer.
No,
they're like, he dead. The time is 11:07. He dead.
They're like, oh my god, this guy's finally dead. But I like thinking to like all the deaths, and it just made me think of it. Like, I don't know why. I always had the impression that he killed everyone in the order that they touched Shelley. Or am I crazy?
I think it's just the order that he found them in.
Yeah,
we'd have to go back and watch the montage.
Okay.
After watching it, those
flashbacks are like out of order.
Well, I kind of
just all these different snippets of the different people being in the apartment because they had already been alone with her, and he sort of like stumbled upon.
That's right.
So some things had happened before he was even there.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we really only saw when Fun Boy was like got out his knife and was saying all that stuff to him, and they were stabbing him up.
Yeah. Oh, actually, can I show you guys something really cool? Speaking of Fun Boy. So, a couple years back, there's this convention here in Cherry Hill, and it's called Monster Mania. It's literally like right up the road from us. It's crazy. And so one year they had like a mini Crow reunion, and I got to meet Ernie Hudson and Michael Massey, who plays Fun Boy, and he signed my Crow comic for me.
Wow.
And
awesome.
He was so sweet. Like, he was so freaking cool. So he unfortunately has he passed away a couple years ago, but he was the one that pulled the trigger that unfortunately killed Brandon Lee. So he had a lot of issues and battles with that, but he was so super sweet when I met him, and it was really cute because I was like, have you read the comic? And he was like, no, I actually haven't. And he was like, what do you want me to sign? And I was like, whatever you want, dude. Like, you're Michael Massey. Like, I do whatever you want. So we were just talking, and he's like flipping through the comic, and he's like, the one thing he commented the most is how hot Eric is. And he's like, how come I didn't look this hot in the movie? He's like, what? This isn't fair. He's so much hotter than me. So he wrote in the back, I did less well with holes in my body because this is the final image of Eric shirtless and sexy with bullet holes. And he's like, you know what? That's not fair.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was
That's
super
pretty
cool.
awesome.
And Ernie Hudson was
right.
Albrecht.
That was my first, when I was taking notes in the movie, that was the first thing. The scene pops up and I'm like, yay, Ernie Hudson.
Yes. Yes.
So
yeah,
awesome.
and then Tony K, Candyman is in it. I
pointed that out. She's like, I'm like, babe, that's Candyman. She's like, who's Candyman? I'm like,
I've literally watched this movie.
He was the brother in Twin Peaks.
No, we're talking about the other guy.
The other guy? Oh, see, I don't know.
The bodyguard.
Oh, the bodyguard guy. Okay. No, T-Bone was in Twin Peaks.
It's so funny. I've been watching this movie for like 20 years, 30 years, and I did not know that Candyman was that guy. I always thought that he was the smoothest guy. I love the way he talked. How he was just like, hey, man, you're going to come with me. You're going to come
Yeah, he was like,
he was just chill all the time, but he was terrifying.
Yeah.
Then come to find out it's Candyman. I'm like, yes.
That's the one you got to look out for. The more like calm, cool, collected one.
Yep.
He's the scary one.
They ain't got time to play.
Oh no, is he being a bad boy?
But yeah, so I guess that kind of brought us into the tragedy of this movie here.
Yeah.
Now, with the tragic passing of Brandon Lee, the circumstances that went down were truly a mistake. It was truly a freak accident, and as she was saying, the actor who was the one to pull the trigger carried that with him forever. The producers that were involved, everybody that was involved, really, it was a big hit on them, because not only did James O'Barr think that Brandon was Eric, everybody attached to this movie did. Like he did months and months of research into the character and put himself into that mindset. There were so many layers and so many things that he wanted to do, and things that weren't able to get finished. But after the tragic event happened, it was a round that was lodged in a blank that accidentally went off. And due to that, the way that it impacted, it shattered. And it was just a really hard hit. So they went to his family. His family said to them, can you finish this? Like, if you can, we would love for you guys to finish this. Like, he really wanted this movie to be his staple. So the whole team got back together to reshoot it, and they poured their heart into it, and they made it Brandon's movie. There was a lot of things that they cut out, a lot of things that they worked around and like re-edited to make it really work, and it truly shines as Brandon's movie.
No, like that was the main thing that stuck out to me, and the main thing I was looking for, because I knew the infamy around the movie. I knew it was like Brandon Lee died on the set of the movie before they could even complete it, and so I was watching it like I was looking for the scenes, right? I was looking for where is it going to be?
Because you already knew,
that they had to shoot around, and it didn't. The film is like, you really can't tell most of the time. No. There's like a couple of scenes. There's the one scene with the little girl and him. I forget the little girl's name right now. Sarah. There's the one scene where like it all kind of like they hug and like awkwardly ends on this freeze frame of her, and that was the first moment where I was like, is that a situation where they had to edit around Brandon Lee not being there? Yeah. But other than that, it's like it really didn't stick out at all, and it was like, wow. I was amazed how well it worked, and you really couldn't,
especially
unless
for the
somebody
time.
Tells you really could not tell that he wasn't there for all of it.
Yeah, it was really done with love, and they made this story the main focus, and it was it was done so well. How did you hearing about that? How did that affect you guys, like wanting to see this movie? Did it affect you, wanting to see it at all, or?
No, not really. Like it's.
I think I saw it in the theater when it came out. Yeah. So.
Oh wow! Hell yeah!
Yeah, I
wish.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it, and I knew it was awful, and it made the movie even more poignant and important because it was like, this actor is amazing, the way he's inhabiting the role, his physicality. I don't think anybody else is doing any stunt in the movie. Like, it's just all him, you know, like you can see it's him, you know, and he could perform so well emotionally, you know, and kind of deliver that performance of the connection with, you know, his lost love, you know, and being murdered. And at first he doesn't want to interact with the little girl, you know, he's sort of trying to play off that he's not who he is. Like, he doesn't want to emotionally reconnect, and then they get reconnected, and then he just gives into it again, you know, and he's trying to avoid the cop, but then he needs a place to go, so he ends up, you know, with the cop. So it's like he's making new emotional connections. So it's not just the nostalgia looking back that he loves Shelley that you're getting new deepening or new relationships between him and others. And he's so good. Like, he's such a good dramatic actor, but he's such a good action star as well. And it was like, what else would this person have been able to do? Like, this is a genius type person. This is so beautiful. And this is all we'll ever know. This is all we'll get. And for me, it always made it more special.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, yeah, it makes it like precious because, you know, that he put so much into the role, and he just embodied something already so tragic. Like, he had like that perfect mix of like, he was totally believable, like, in his brutality and his anger, but it also in him, like, his pain and his angst and his, you know, just him being, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, vulnerable, you know, just being like open and vulnerable. Like, he just displayed all those emotions, and it's just, it's like that much harder, like, going back. And especially at the end when you see, for Brandon and, Eliza, his fiance, and you're just like, oh, every time you see that, it's just like just as heartbreaking as the first time you see it. It never goes away. It's just so sad.
It really doesn't. And it's kind of poignant that he's going out on a story that's, you know, it's a man dies tragically, you know, he loses everything he loves tragically. He can only come back for 2 nights to make things right. How far will he go to make things right? You know, like that message and everything got to pull it across it, you know, it was in a eerie way, like his spirit is always here. And it was like a subtle goodbye, you know, in a sense. You know, I always heard that it was a cursed movie, you know, family curse, the Lee family curse,
God,
and all this and that. And, you know, I'm not big for superstitions and all that stuff. So, you know,
but it's hard not to attach to that idea, because everyone, you know, always wants to think that there's like something in motion, there's something at play, so that you can wrap your head around just senseless tragedy, you know. So it's like, it's easier to believe there's like a conspiracy, or like, what was the one thing people were saying, that there was a mob hit against against Bruce Lee, and Bruce, they got Brandon too. You know, and it's like, it's just so much easier for us to have an explanation behind like something that is just so utterly tragic, and it didn't have to happen, and it did, and it sucks, you know?
Yeah.
Like, especially how easy it was for it to not happen. So if one person just checked through that gun and made sure it didn't have anything in it, like, you know, it's just
right.
Yeah. I mean, you can go back a million times and to try to think about, you know, what could have happened and all that. It sucks, man, you know, but we just gotta have them in our memories today, dude, and carry it on, you know, and celebrate this. The man did a bunch of amazing work in China, doing some martial arts work and detective work and stuff too.
Oh my God, have you guys ever seen the Dolph Lundgren movie he was in?
We saw some scenes in the sort of we watched a sort of bio short. It's about 12 minutes. It's out on YouTube about Brandon Lee's career and his life. And it kind of leads up to explaining what happened on The Crow. And it has a lot of scenes from the other work that he did. So we saw a bunch of scenes from it. It's like, my God, Dolph Lundgren is huge.
I know.
That man is huge.
I know.
That was He-Man.
He was the tank, man.
The Crow took down He-Man.
Oh, damn. Yeah, he was He-Man. I always forget that.
He was He-Man.
I totally always forget that.
That's a classic.
Oh, my God.
Especially for synth lovers. That old 80s He-Man movie's a classic.
Yeah.
You guys will have to watch that and do an episode on that. That would be so amazing. That movie
Yeah, but I think that goes also to like the transformational performance that Brandon gives in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Like you just watching those little snippets of other films he's in, like he does not look like the Crow in any of that stuff.
No, he looks like so happy and bright,
exactly,
and like
right?
full of life.
Yeah. You get to see that depth from like Eric Draven towards those other characters, just the depth of acting level. Like,
Yeah,
you got to see the performance, before then we got to see the acting.
Have you seen the rumors of a new Crow? Have you
A
guys seen?
while ago, I was seeing like Jason Momoa was attached to it.
So that one is no longer the Bill Skarsgård, the guy who played Pennywise.
Pennywise, gotcha.
Apparently, it's already done filming.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Apparently
it's not even
done
just like
filming.
I have not heard this, but then I told one of my friends we were going to be doing this recording of this episode, and she was like, I told Pam, and she was like, oh, because of the new remake, and I was like, no, don't remake everything. Just re-release awesome films like this. Just
give us more special features.
Re-release.
Yeah,
put it in 4K. Give us a bunch of special features. Interview people.
Yeah, give us like the extended cut because so many scenes were cut.
Yeah, shit. Put them all
and cut down. And it's a shame because in the comic there's a character who's like kind of like Eric's like spirit guide. He's the skull cowboy, and they almost had him in the movie, but Brandon died right after they like started getting the animatronic and like the costume and everything and the fittings like all set. So they only filmed like a couple like little short scenes with Brandon in him.
Able to film the establishing shots of like them together, but none of the dialogue.
Because like he would have had to be face to face, and they didn't know how to get around that. So it's like I would love to see if someone could just go in and like deep fake that in somehow. I don't know, but it's like where's the line of that being like disrespectful? You know.
I mean, I would love to see the original script just to see what their lines were, what their interactions were with each other.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
What could have been?
And it stood out to me this time watching it. Like when I was a lot younger watching it when it came out, he just was cool. So of course he had a black electric guitar slung on his side because it just, it went with the
cool guys do.
Long leather duster that he got after he killed Tintin. It's just cool. So of course you're going to have a guitar, but like it didn't really register with me that before he was killed he was a professional musician. And then watching some of the behind the movie stuff that we watched, it was saying originally they were going to have a lot more music of him, flashback I guess to him as a performer before he's killed in the movie, so that some of the flashbacks would have been like him as a musician. And that just really stood out to me this time. I'm like, oh man, like even more connecting. Like first I realized like this is probably the biggest influence on my band Phoenix Noir that I've never realized or thought about, that is just so huge. And it was like, and then like he's also a musician, which didn't connect either. So it was like, it just was really bringing it home to me because I was just thinking about like the thoughtfulness of the music placement. There's just some films that take it so seriously and it's so important to the tone, and it's very authentic to the movie because it's a story about a musician who dies.
Yes.
And just as a kid watching it, like that piece didn't really plug in for me, but somehow I think it's still filtered through in like the influence that this movie has had like on the kind of dark wave scene in the world like since the 90s.
100%. I mean, this movie they really took lyrics specifically and put them to certain scenes. I mean, in the comic it's littered with lyrics all over the place.
Yeah, like James will kind of use like a Cure song to like set the stage for like a new chapter or like a scene, and it's just like, so the fact that like the people that made the movie realized like that the very fabric of the story is weaved with music and like art, like is just so cool.
And it's funny, the people that they got to do the soundtrack was everybody James O'Barr loved and idolized and who he wrote into the book. So to have them come and put their magic on it, it's like,
especially the Cure
icing on the cake.
Burn is so good.
It's so good.
That's one of the best songs of all time, hands down.
Yeah.
It's really one of my favorites.
And it has even for The Cure, it has a pretty special power, the song Burn. Mm-hmm. And the lyrics are just so closely mapped. They must have written the song for the soundtrack.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I think it was the only song that was done that way.
Yeah, because the lyrics they fit so well. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this time really tuning into that. And I was like, they had to have written this for them. They might have to have the opportunity to write for this movie. And they have other songs that get really big and heavy, and bring out that kind of darker, deeper rock aspect of The Cure. But I feel like Burn does it so well. And it's kind of like it pushed the band forward a little bit for me. So I love The Cure. They're one of my favorite bands of all time and super influential on me. Even when it's a little bit more dreamy,
Yeah.
And not, but like the gritty, dark, hard hitting stuff is like, oh, hell yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I think it brought The Cure to like a whole new audience.
100%.
And generation. I would have never probably known about The Cure. I mean, I come from a very big music household, but my mom never, ever listened to The Cure. So honestly, I have that movie to thank and that song to thank for my love for The Cure. Cause like once I heard that, just like, oh my God, just lit up my world. That scene where he's doing his makeup and that song is playing. And it's just like, it's so iconic. And it just gives me chills every time I think about it because it's just so perfectly done. It's just like pure poetry, the whole thing, song, scene, everything.
It is. It's so beautiful.
It's amazing. Yeah, guys. So I don't know.
Is there any
if we ever all make a movie so that we can create the soundtrack for it.
Oh my God.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
We've been wanting to write a movie for like the last 2 years. We are ready.
Yeah. I think there needs to be some creation
I believe
of the cinema so that the soundtrack gets created like with it, because when that's done well, it is just it's high art, I mean, it's like the best. It's so immersive for people in the audience when something's created with that much cohesiveness between the storytelling and the visual imagery and the characters and the sets, and then all the sound and the music, that all the design is just like part of this aesthetic that helps to deliver the story or the message of whatever it is. It's so powerful. So one day maybe there'll be a Renegades Outworld kind of film project of some sort. I think it would be a really cool future collab.
I think that would be too.
I do too.
That would be awesome.
I do too, man.
And I love that we matched tonight, by the way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm,
nice, the black lipstick.
Nice.
Oh, wait, and I have to.
Oh, yeah. Give everybody a nice close up look at this. You got to. There we go.
I made my own, Eric, just for today. Well, we got these pumpkins and we were like, okay, what are we going to do with them? And we had 3. We had the daddy pumpkin, the mama pumpkin, and the baby pumpkin. And the daddy pumpkin went bad.
Last.
So we were like, damn, what do we do? And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to paint Eric on my little pumpkin. It does say the crow on the back, but you can't really like very well.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm proud of my little Eric pumpkin. It was fun.
I love it. That's adorable.
All right, trying to make sure it doesn't fall over.
He's just here to make sure it can't rain all the time.
It can't rain all the time. Oh my God, we were just listening to that before we started, and we were like, they should have totally had Hangman's Joke.
They should have had the Handmaid's Joke version, the one that's skipping on the record for the whole song.
Because I want to hear the whole thing. It just gets stuck on Can't Rain all the time.
I always wondered, is there an actual full version of it? But seeing as we found they wanted to do more scenes with it, maybe they didn't do it. Maybe they only had the one line.
Yeah, or maybe they planned on more. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
We'll just have to.
I want to see Brandon Lee as a rock star.
Yes.
I would watch a whole movie just of that, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'd watch 2 hours of that. Tight leather pants.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere there's an alternate universe for this. Or they'll work that into the remake, which we'll probably avoid.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about
that. Have to
Yeah.
pay me to watch it. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think you guys will see it?
We might give it a shot. See what happens.
Maybe.
Yeah, you're like very like, I don't know.
I disapprove. If they wanted to go back into the world, create a new story, but like, there's no need to remake this story. This story was made.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Amen. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
The Crow could come back for anyone. Why does it have to be this one person?
Because it is this sort of mystical figure who helps with this retribution when a great wrong is left unaddressed, that the Crow can come and it can bring someone forward. So there's like so much room to create in that world. There's no reason to try to just be Eric Draven again,
Amen.
Like just creating the world.
Amen. And it actually,
I stake my finger at those.
It expands the world. It makes this even bigger. It makes it
right.
It doesn't have to compare to it ever. Just like the new Hellraiser that just came out. Like they rebooted it in a sense, but they just did their own twist with the same morals and the same stories, and that's why it worked.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out.
Oh my God, it's so good.
So
Female Pinhead. I'm obsessed with her. I want to be her so bad, but like not have to die to do it.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
You want to be her when you grow up?
Yeah, if I could just be a hell priest, but like without any of the sacrifice or like shitty parts.
Working for
fun, badass, looking awesome.
Exactly.
Commanding some power, but not necessarily having to Yeah.
Maybe if I have to kill some people, but definitely for the look. Yeah.
Definitely for the look. Well, that's the good thing about Halloween, and also every day is Halloween. So all the days that get the Halloween spirit where we can all just let whatever we feel take form, and do all these characters and be part of all these worlds. And, why doesn't everybody just be an adult and fully inhabit the characters that they adore? Because you said you saw somebody down and all that. Be an adult and don't dress up whatever. No, that's the wrong kind of adult. I want to be the kind of adult.
We've gone the opposite direction. We're doing more dressing up. We should have do one Halloween costume a year, and now one is not enough. We got to do 2 or 3 a year. So
exactly.
What's the point of growing up if you can't just do all the stuff you wanted to do because you have money now? Come on.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have
buy all the costumes.
If that wasn't true. Those are just little boys in the 80s watching kids on bikes doing shit, and they were like, oh my God, we can make stories like that of little kids on bikes doing shit. And now they got the money and they got to do it.
Exactly. Oh my God, that's so true.
I say, hell yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, I love that so much.
Hell yeah.
We should also have our adulthood be our wish fulfillment of our childhood and our adolescence.
Right.
Stop
dreaming.
Or as Doctor Who once said, there's no point in being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes.
I love that so much.
Like that. So, yeah.
I'm totally teaching that to our kid because that's how I feel. It's like, when people say death before dishonor, it's like death before growing up. I don't want to grow up and it goes back to just us having this conversation and talking about something and nerding out about something that we really love. I feel like if you're passionate about anything, who cares what it is? I just want to see people passionate about stuff, and when people get down on other people, oh, that's dorky. You know so much about this, or you cry over, Marvel movies, which is totally not me. But it's, I don't know. It's just cool to just see people jazzed about stuff. And especially something like this, that's just so iconic. It's been around since '94 and we can still get excited about it because it's timeless.
And it still holds up amazingly well. It's got that enough of that '90s grunge stuff, so it's grounded in that time a bit, but you're 100% right. It's not dated at all. You don't really need to reboot it or remake it. It's no, it's No, it's right there.
I love hearing that from someone that just saw it too. It's so awesome to hear that.
Yeah, because I was thinking about some other things that inspired, like Dark City came after. There's some other
Dark
movies that are like so inspired by the look of The Crow, and then they kind of and they did their version of it, which is also awesome, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing I forgot to talk about early on in this. The comic book itself is all in black and white. Okay, so the way they came up with this visual style of The Crow was James O'Barr's original idea. Do everything with Eric in black and white, all of the flashbacks, all of them. I want them in bright Technicolor. So every time he's with Shelley, he's madly in love. Anytime he's playing music, you feel the emotion. But when we're back in the real world, I want it black and white. Well, Miramax wasn't okay with that. So the director, they made their own film stock, and they made their own way of cutting out all the reds and the blues. And that's why like the rain you see like very prominent, and it's like a lot darker than most types of movies. Like it gave it that very distinct gothic, like you don't, like we were saying before, we don't know what city this is. And like
it's just raining all the time.
Style has gone on to inspire and create so many more amazing things. You know?
Yeah.
Super cool. And it all just came from him being like, hey, can we do that? And then being like, no, but we will do it our way.
Literally Dark City. They did a Dark City, and then we got Dark City.
And there's things in Sin City too that you can see. There's like pieces of the filming that are definitely inspired by techniques of The Crow, and like the treatment of the rain, and there's things like that like I see in other movies. It's like I think it's all coming back from this. So that's really cool to know about their technique. I didn't know that piece of it, that they had to get creative about how to kind of create this difference of like the grittiness and the emptiness of the world that is versus the richness of what was there before.
Exactly.
Like what was taken out of the world was this richness, this beauty that was very lush, and it was full of color because it was full of feeling and connection. And now he's like in this very hard environment where he's come back, but that's gone, that got taken. And I think that's true. That's true about loss. We have one of our songs is called Death of Glitter, about our best friend, our mutual best friend, Bryce, who had first introduced us in 2008 or 2009 when we first met each other. And he died from HIV AIDS in 2011. And so our song that's a tribute to him is called The Death of Glitter. And it's because some people are so special, and the world will just never be as sparkly or shiny without them. Like it just won't be. Yeah. It'll be something else, but it's not the same. There's some things that aren't replaceable.
Yeah. Well, especially like when you have a love, a connection like that, it literally like brightens up your world. You open up your mind to different things, different possibilities, different points of view. If someone is important to you, they challenge you and they help you be the best version of yourself. And without them, it literally feels like, something is sucked out, and it's the best representation of that is color.
Which is it's a good reference, but it's definitely how it feels. It's like the sparkliness, the shininess. It gets taken out of the world when you lose special people, which is how James O'Barr felt writing the story. Absolutely. About his love who was lost. And then it's a little bit how I feel even watching The Crow, knowing that we lost Brandon Lee. Like what he was bringing to that performance is magical to me. And we just, at least we have it. We have it, and we can see how amazing of an actor and a person, an artist he obviously was, and the people around making the story as well. Because it's not only one person, of course, in a movie, but he was pretty darn special. So it's wonderful that we have the movie to still know this and to be able to remember him.
Lives
and
on
to
forever.
Introduce the whole new generation too. You know what I mean? This is a story that can connect with anybody. It does not have to stop here, and I don't think it will. It's only going to get more and more popular.
No matter what new one's made, this is the version our daughter is seeing.
Yes.
She's being raised on the greats. This is the one. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's done.
Sounds like a plan.
That seems like a great a note as any to end on, unless anybody has anything else they want to add that we think.
I honestly feel like
it. This has been a good time, man.
Yeah, this has been really, really cool.
It's been
fun. This has been fantastic collabing with you guys on this.
Yeah.
I'm glad we could make it happen, and I know it's not going to be the last time.
Everybody,
if you're watching this on our channel, on Unheard Sirens Inc.'s YouTube channel, or listening on Spotify, please go check out Cinema Punx over on YouTube. That's Cinema Punx with an X at the end.
Because we cool like that.
Exactly.
Yes. If you're on Cinema Punx, then hey, we're the Unheard Sirens Incorporated.
Yes.
Our podcast is called Renegades of the Podcast because our most recent album was called Renegades of the Portal. So it's a little play on our own sort of world we're building in our art. So,
and where can you guys?
If we haven't seen you before,
definitely
you're on
go and check out their music on Spotify.
We're on Spotify,
we're
YouTube,
on iTunes, Deezer, all the things.
Yes,
Instagram,
these guys,
TikTok.
They are an awesome band.
Incredible musicians, incredible performers, and just amazing people. So you guys would be doing yourselves a disservice if you did not go and listen. That's all I'm going to say.
Also, Helix Code are pretty damn awesome, and we're going to work some of their music into the music portion of this podcast somewhere. For sure. We're going to shout you guys out and a few.
We did a crow song.
Make some good, dark, spooky kind of music is going to be worked into this for sure to keep in with the theme of tonight.